Okay. Or you had something?
Yeah, I was thinking about this more philosophically in that the farmers market seems to be trying to serve two masters at the same time, the producers and the consumers. And by trying to straddle that divide, we're doing a merry jig of ordinance and legislation here. Whereas if it was decided one way or the other, or does the farmers market exist to foster new farmers and new producers to bring their produce to market, sort of an echo of the urban agriculture ordinance that was recently passed here? Or is it existing to provide the customers, the consumers, the residents of Moscow and surrounding area with fresh produce? And if one side or the other is decided on, the rest of the problem would seem to disappear immediately. And relative to the distance out and things like that, we have similar climates that are also radically different. We get the same day lengths, we get the same temperatures about, but elevation plays a big role in this. And I don't see an arbitrary distance being particularly efficacious in managing the market. I think that
Art, I have a question to ask you. You're just talking about the miles now. We're talking about elevations and all kinds of stuff.
Well, this is inclusive of that, because if you're talking that, I'm talking
getting
about
me
seasonal
confused.
progression of produce.
Okay.
Because the asparagus in Walla Walla is going to come on way before the asparagus in Troy, Idaho. So is it really a redundancy to establish an arbitrary mileage radius around Moscow to govern which produce can come into the market and which cannot, as opposed to saying run your area from the crest of the Cascades to the Continental Divide, from Canada to the 45th parallel, and then let both the economies of transportation and the seasonal progression of produce determine what shows up at the market. And a lot of the other issues just simply evaporate. Also, it would relieve you, the arts director, of having to make the decisions on who's in, who's out, and it would also lend predictability to both the growers and the consumers of who's actually, of what produce is actually going to be present. So I see some problems with that. And also within the language here, there's the phrase that caught my eye that says that there is no appeal after the decision of the commission on who stays and who goes. Yeah. Appendix 5, farmer market penalties. If you don't behave, there shall be no appeal of the decision regarding the penalties made by the market manager. And then it goes on to say that concerns can be expressed to city supervisor, city council, et cetera. And so that seems to be some language that's just begging for problems right there, kind of chasing itself in a circle. No appeal, but then you can appeal. And that would seem to be kind of draconian there as well. There's a lot of this stuff that seems to need a lot more discussion over the next year to nail down, including the definition of who a market vendor is, who the representative at the market can be. And to me, it's more the dimension, the scale of the producers that's a question than it is where they are. And how do you get a handle around that? And these are questions that are probably beyond our availability right here, but I do suggest that get rid of 100 or 200 miles. Anytime you put a hard number like that, you're almost begging for problems right there. Just stick with agroclimatics. Go from Cascades to Continental Divide, Canada to the 45th. Let distance, fuel, time involved by people, let that sort it out. And the seasonal progression of the produce within that area would also provide the consumers with a longer season for each one of these items, I think. So those are some of the points that I had.
Tom?
Well, I do think that there are aspects of the policy that can be revisited and looked at and changed over the next year. I think that the committee last week made the request that the commission look at the radius and also look at the market vendor definition as two things to look at next year. But I think we could certainly look at a number of these other things. We could identify a few things. But
Gary had a point he wanted to make here, too.
what's that?
Gary had a point he
Okay, thanks.
wanted to make, too, Tom, so.
Thanks. And so I just, my recommendation is that we support what's in front of us, knowing that there's an opportunity to look at these again, as we move forward for the next year.
I just wanted to put a plug in for the Farmers Market Commission. It is just about a year old. Very contentious issue. I think Art makes a very good point. When we had the market surveyor, market consultant brought in, Aaron Zaretsky, about 2 years ago now, he advocated for a free market approach as well. In fact, I think he recommended a 250-mile radius or something like that, a fairly large area. Met with a lot of consternation by the vendors especially, but members of the public. So it is an evolving discussion, and with the relative youth of the commission, they put a lot of work in on this. Be my recommendation to the council that you let it evolve a little bit. See how it works. The 100 miles has worked since 2011. With exceptions for those types of products that are unavailable around here, or at least unavailable with any amount of regularity. So I think if they continue to look at it, continue to analyze it, they've only been on Main Street for 2 years now. The market just continues to evolve, and I think the Commission's doing a great job of keeping up with it. So I would recommend the council move ahead with the recommendations of the Commission.
Mayor?
Walter.
Moving ahead with the recommendation, Gary, is accepting what's been put before us.
Yes.
And letting it work, just accepting what's put before us. I'm not comfortable with it. This council, 6 years ago, got into dictating what businesses could and couldn't do in Moscow, and I'm thinking specifically of the smoking in bars. I think that was the right thing to do. After the fact, we got a lot of criticism from people that said, I don't smoke, but you shouldn't be telling me I can't go in a smoking bar if I want to. The interesting thing was that the bar owners never did complain about it or criticize us. There we had a health issue. We all believed it. We still think it was the right thing to do. This is not a health issue. This is market-driven economic crafts and produce and product. And I agree with John when he made the comment a while ago that you cannot buy blueberries in Tacoma for nothing that don't have the cost of production in them. The cost of production is going to be in those blueberries, whether they're grown in Tacoma or grown in Viola. The one coming from Tacoma is going to have to spend gas money to get here. The one from Viola could do them on a bicycle. At least Tom could.
Tom will eat them.
So the economy I think will judge it. I'm with Art in terms of let it work. I don't like putting the arts director, market manager in the position of picking winners and losers. I think that they're being set up to be asked, well, you picked Art, why won't you let me be in there? And then they're having to defend their choices. We heard from a lot of consumers, and they're saying 200. Art is talking larger than that. I don't like restricting it to 100. The vendors were not happy with us when we moved it to Main Street. We did it because 86% of a surveyed group of customers said, we love it on Main Street. I wish the vendors would come back to us now telling us we made a mistake, we shouldn't have moved it, put it back in the parking lot, and we did the wrong thing, but I haven't heard that. I want to believe they're selling more product. They're making more money. It's worth their time to come down here and set up on Main Street. It was a change. People don't like change. I don't like change. But I'm just not sure that this grandfathered 100, which is setting people up to, if you miss a year, you're at risk. Why would they bother? They bother now because they can make money. Tonemaker doesn't come from wherever in the world he is here, set up 4 cash registers and bring I don't know how many people to work that train just because he's making gas money. I don't think. I don't know what he's making, have no idea, but he's not just making gas money, he wouldn't bother with it. Thank you.
Well, what direction are we going to go here, guys?
I would like to see us approve the resolution, the proposed.
Making a motion, Tom?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we approve what's been brought for us by our commission and move it forward, and also request that they continue to look at these items in the within this next year to continue to give us advice on future policy.
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a motion by Tom and a second by Dan. John?
I'll amend that motion to 200 miles.
Well, Tom made the motion, Dan seconded it,
Yeah,
You
and
can make an amendment.
I'm
If
amending
somebody
his
seconds
motion.
it.
I'm offering to make an amendment to his motion to increase the 100 miles to 200 miles for the reasons I've given before. It's market-driven, and I think that the customer should have the opportunity, and I think the farmer's market should be customer-based, shouldn't be based on vendors. And that's the reason for my motion. I don't know if I'll get a second or not.
Well, you made a motion, Walter seconded it. So now we vote on the first motion first.
Vote on the amendment.
Okay, so we're going to vote on the amendment, and we're going to start with you,
We
Art.
can discuss.
Well, we can discuss the.
You want to
attributes
discuss
of
the
each.
amendment?
Well, yeah, I don't like the hard and fast numbers particularly, but I do think that by way of avoiding unpredictability in who's in and who's out, it seems like the people who are here now are all well within the 200-mile radius. And therefore, I think, to me, it makes more sense than 100. And I think seasonal progression of produce will allow this to go off without any ruffling of feathers within the market, which may have been discussed by the commission before, but I just have real problems with arbitrary numbers that we've pulled out of the air. And so I would support that amendment.
Tom has something to say.
Well, I'll vote against the amendment. At this point, I mean, I think if the Farmers Market Commission brought 200 to us and they have had good reason for doing it after a year of, or even 3 months of studying it, not 30 minutes of studying it tonight, I would be happy to support it. But if the Farmers Market Commission is not ready to bring that forward to us yet, I won't support it. So I don't have a dog in the fight about some specific distance. I don't, to me, it doesn't matter if it's 100, 125, 150, 200, specifically on that number. What I'm more concerned about is the process of engaging a farmers market commission last March. Well, I guess it was May that they started. And then, not accepting their recommendation at this point. I think that we've asked them, we've charged them with looking at the radius in this next year, and I would like to give them that chance. And I think if we just, change their recommendation at this point significantly with changing the radius, I don't think we're doing the process a service.